Well, hello, everyone. It is happy Sunday. And we know what Sundays mean. Sundays for us mean it's time for us to gather, real talk, real people, and to tell you thank you so very much for your commitment to joining, to participating, and most importantly, for us to truly enjoy this life that we have been gifted with. Because at the end of the day, I mean, what is life if we don't get a chance to connect with one another and really ensure that we're enriching the lives of each other by sharing our journey and sharing our story? And so today is no different. If you're excited to be here, let me see you. Just give me the little pom pom shake and the cheerleading. So I want to feel you on that. And yes, greetings from Canada. Canada is in the building. Tell me where you're watching us from. Tell me where you're joining from. We need to hear from you. We also understand that where we are heart minded, I don't believe that we have to be like minded. I believe we need to be heart minded, because the beauty about our minds is that we can grow and develop and enrich one another with our values and with our opinions. But when our hearts are truly connected, so in the building, we've got Great Britain in the building, we have Jamaica in the building, we have Canada in the building. All of us, hey, good to see you, Natasha. Welcome. This is fantastic. Yes, Cheryl, welcome. I love it, because all of us truly, I believe we need to embrace that we're in this season in our lives where we must understand that we can move from good to great. I believe all of us are in this season of our lives where we need to understand that we've got to be intentional about our choices, what we feed our mind, our body, and our soul, who we are surrounded with, how we nurture ourselves. And it's really beautiful. Atlanta is in the building. Listen, Kingston, Jamaica. Real Talk is international, you know. I hope our guest, who is behind scenes, she's behind the closed curtains. I hope she understands that she has the impact of reaching out to an international audience, all on Real Talk with Marsha-Ann. So, for those of you who are joining for the first time, I am so honored that you would connect with us here. To my faithful front row seats, consistent, never missing an episode people, love you dearly. This is season 3, episode 7. But we also understand that Real Talk has gone through season 1 and 2. So there are some of you who have actually been a part of about 57 episodes or more already. And I just want to say thank you so much for being who you are and for joining us. And so for those of you who are joining for the first time, welcome to Real Talk. This is a safe place. This is a space where heart-minded folks connect one with another. Most of us are women of faith, who believe and know and understand that there's a purpose and a plan for our lives, and we really just want to enrich it. So this is where we engage, encourage, and empower one another. And I believe that a big part of my mission is to ensure that I'm this conduit to ensure that all of us live our lives of purpose, passion, and prosperity. And so that invites me to welcome on stage our lady of the moment, who is a dynamic light bulb, really a stadium bulb that can light up a room just by her mere presence. She has a highly infectious laughter, and her life has been a journey that I truly believe when I reached out to her to ask her to speak, it was with one mission and one mission only. And that was because I was familiar with parts of her journey. Because in life, we don't know everybody's story, and we need to accept that. We know parts of it. And for the parts that I know, I definitely wanted her to share with us. So help me welcome on stage. Hey, Shemaine, St. Lucia's in the building. CARICOM is being represented. help me welcome on stage. And I'll only do a short excerpt, but allow her to feel the real talk welcome that we do as family, and welcome on stage. Without any further ado, welcome with me, the beautiful Nicole Barrett. Now, Nicole, have you ever had such a grand introduction?
Never, and especially on an international stage like this one. That
Exactly.
was lovely. Hello,
That,
everyone.
that's the love of the real talk, people. Welcome, Nicole, and happy Sunday. Nicole, tell
Yes.
everybody where you're joining us from this
Oh my
evening.
goodness. On this Sunday, I'm joining you from the south of Boston. So I'm in Massachusetts,
All
but
right.
New England area.
Beautiful,
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful. And Nicole is from Boston, and she is a runner as well. Love nature, love outdoors,
Yes.
love hiking, and all of that jazz. And I believe that that's a part of her intentional life.
Right.
Nicole, thank you so much for agreeing to be a guest on Real Talk with Marsha-Ann. And thank you so much for enriching the lives of everyone that's here and for those who will catch the replay as well. So I'm only going to give them a little nugget about you,
Sounds
just a
good.
teeny, teeny one. And then I'll invite you to continue sharing. Yes, to those of you who are watching Facebook Live, thank you for joining. Those of you who are on YouTube, thank you, thank you. I have to give a shout out to my beautiful mother, who is a techie, and she has found out how to join this on YouTube, and she has not missed out. So yes, one of your amazing supporters says Nicole is the real deal. I couldn't agree with you more. So who
Thank
is
you.
Nicole? A nugget of who Nicole is according to her bio, and that much more. Nicole's life journey is one that has given her an appreciation of how to live a bold and intentional life. And the dynamic soul that I believe that she is, she wants to share this with others as well. Nicole is a breast cancer survivor, an adventurer, and a lover of life. Nicole believes in boldly and intentional seeking out life's experiences. And I strongly believe that she'll tell us how the breast cancer survivor aspect has really afforded her to be very intentional about life. Nicole is an award winning travel business consultant, a marketer, a podcaster, and an entrepreneur with over 15 years of international executive level experience. She's a former regional director of sales for Sandals and Beaches Resorts, and she has led, trained, and consulted with some of the most successful sales and travel professionals and travel businesses across North America and the Caribbean. She currently consults with top travel brands in their sales and marketing placements in the digital market, and how they are represented in the North American market. Here is what I want us to know, that this woman has a phenomenal podcast, and she's also started what's called a Travelpreneur Academy to be able to provide travel businesses with the resources and the encouragement that they need to improve their marketing, relationship, selling skills with strategy, personality, and a little bit of style. Speaking
Wow.
of a little bit of style, Nicole,
Yeah.
over to you to
There,
tell the people more than what the bio has to say.
there is nothing else I can add to that. That was fantastic. Thank you.
My
Well,
pleasure.
the only other thing I will say is that there's an echo. I'm not sure if it's just me. We're good.
I hope we're good. I
Okay, let me
need
know in
my
the comments if
my
we're not good.
Yes, I am going to ask Cheryl, give me the audio check. Dion, give me the
Yes.
audio check. Keisha, Yvonne, like stalwart Shemaine. Shemaine, you've always been an audio check girl. Tell me, is the sound good? Sandra, you're
Sounds
in the
better to me
building.
now.
If there's an echo, or if you're not hearing Nicole properly, I need you to tell me. My Dion, Sanford, tell me. A little echo, they say.
Yeah.
Do whatever you need to do on your end to slightly adjust that. Thanks, Yvonne.
All right. So I unplugged and replugged my mic. It sounds good to
Okay.
me now. I'm not sure what the
Okay.
audience thinks, but it sounds much better to me now.
All right. Beautiful. Kelly says you're good.
Good.
All
Okay,
right.
good to go. All right.
All
Well,
right.
the only other thing I will add to that is that, those. I mean, when I see here's the thing, right? When you hear other people read your bio, you're like, wow, I've done a lot of things.
Mhm.
I've done a lot of things. But on the personal side of it, I will say that, as I mentioned before, I live south of Boston, and I live here with my beautiful family, my two boys and my husband. And a lot of the things that I have done in my life is because of them and with them and with their supports. I do want to first just give them a shout out.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just another slight adjustment. There is still feedback that there is an echo. And we
Okay.
did our audio check before. So we
Yes.
want to be able to hear you flawlessly. And we want those who are going to be catching the replay to hear it flawlessly as well.
Okay.
And Nicole is an expert in the field of podcasting. So I don't have the technical knowledge, but I do know that on my side, I believe my sound frequency is very good.
Okay. It sounds good. It sounds much better from my end. So
Okay.
and if they can just let us know one more time, but it sounds good from
Okay.
my end.
Everybody good now?
I'm gonna still try one more thing. I doubt that's it, but let's just try real quick. How is this?
All right. One person says good. Thank you, Dee. All right. We're getting good. We're
We're
getting good.
getting good.
Fantastic.
Okay, awesome. Awesome.
Hey, Marsha. Welcome, welcome. Florida is in the building. All right. Yvonne from Canada says much
Good.
better.
Good.
All right. D from Great Britain is in the building. Is it sounding good all the way over there to you too?
Isn't Dee being back?
I know. Listen, that's why I commend the loyalty and the commitment, because for her to be up at this hour really means a
Yes,
lot to me. So I
fantastic.
do not take it for granted. Hey, Lorna. Lorna is in the building from Canada.
Hey, Lorna, it's so good to see you. Well,
All
Mark.
right. Now we're ready to start the show.
Yes.
Sound quality is good. Let's go.
Good. Where
All
were
right.
we?
So you're going to now take it away. You've told us that, backed by everything that I read, most importantly, you're
Yes.
undergirded by family,
Mhm.
and they are a big part of your why.
Yeah, they
So
are.
I want to understand, and as well as everyone else wants to understand, really and truly, what would you say
Mhm.
got you to the level of understanding the importance of living a bold and intentional life? Tell us about that.
Oh my goodness. So I mean, there are a couple of things. There are several things actually, but I'll just mention one or two. Uh it's so funny because I was just talking to my husband about this a couple of days ago, and I was talking about my mother, who had a had a very similar personality to me. However, my mom died young, 47, right? But I remember her as this amazing person. When she walks into a room, she lit up a room. She was
Mhm.
bold, she was intentional. With a fifth grade education, she was able to go to school, become a nurse, and eventually a matron at a high school, started her own import export business. And I saw her living her life boldly. So to me, that was a beginning for me. However, it didn't just happen like that, right? So I remember being young and thinking to myself, 'cause all of us, we're young, we are shy, maybe we're not sure what's for us or if we can even achieve certain things. And I just remember one time just waking up saying to myself, why not me? Why not me? If if there's something out there that I want to do and I'm feeling a little bit shy, I'm feeling a little bit like it's on the table to me, why not be? So why not me? So I started thinking those things years ago, but it's not like it just happened overnight, for me. But there are several things that led to that, which I'm sure we'll talk about.
Wow, why not me?
Why not me?
Because sometimes the hindrance is thinking it's not available to us,
Right.
right? And so, oh no, they're saying there is still an echo. Don't
Oh
know
yeah.
what it is. Do you have a microphone that's plugged in?
My microphone is plugged in. Yeah. It sounds fine from but my microphone is plugged in. I'm not sure what's going on. Let me unplug it.
Yeah,
How's that? Can you hear me?
I absolutely can.
That is
Perhaps you
very
will do it
weird.
without it.
Yeah, I mean, I unplugged it just now, so I'm not sure. Let me
Yeah,
try
it's
to
very
plug my
clear.
phone.
It's very clear.
Okay. It's clear now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
On
good.
my end. Yep. I get this the thumbs up saying it's clear. Yes.
Okay, good.
And so why not me?
Why not me?
Interesting. And that's a question that I think that sometimes we put limitations on ourselves
Right,
and we don't push ourselves to really say what if or why not me.
right. Because
But
here's the thing.
how did that go further though?
Well, here's the thing, because it's learned over years and it's learned through experiences. And I'm of the belief that there are times when we look at the things that we want to do, but we're still holding on to the part of us that's saying, here's what my life is supposed to look like.
Mhm.
Here is what I should be doing. Here are the dreams that have been placed on me by someone else. Here are the expectations that are placed on me as a mother, right? Because we walk around with these titles: a mother, a sister, a friend, an employee with a certain title. There are all these expectations that are placed on us. And instead, I found that I am happiest when I ask myself, instead of asking, what should I be doing? What should my life look like? It is, what do I want my life to feel like? Right? Because there are times when you do things and you're thinking, okay, I should be doing this, but it doesn't make me feel good. So I start with, how do I want to feel? And you and I have talked about this before. We talk about freedom, and we talk about freedom can look different for me than it does for you, right?
Right.
Freedom could be the freedom to make choices, the freedom to live where we want to live, the freedom to buy what we want to buy, the freedom to wake up and do whatever we want to do, or the freedom not to choose because we're looking for a little bit more structure. We have to first ask ourselves, what does freedom look like to me? And for
Mhm.
me, freedom is the way I feel. So if I feel amazing, if I'm chasing the things that set my soul on fire and I feel amazing, then that to me is the end goal, is the focus. And I just work backwards from there. And I just do the things that brings me to that path or down that path.
That's so interesting. And I find it so dynamic
Mhm.
because, ironically, I shared within the last 24 hours that sometimes we will also hold things so close to us
Yeah.
that we need to let go to truly be free,
Yes.
right?
There are a lot of things we need to unlearn.
We need to unlearn certain things. We also need to embrace that we don't owe anyone an explanation, but that comes with maturity and life's
Yes.
experiences, right?
Yes.
And making sure we're living life on our terms, not as prescribed by anyone else.
Right.
That for me is a big part of freedom.
Yes. That's key though, what you said about not owing anyone an explanation. I believe that I don't need anyone to know my side of the story.
Mhm.
It's okay if you do, but you don't need to know my side of the story. I'm okay with you not knowing, because within myself, I feel good about it. No matter how you feel about it, I feel good about it. So I don't know, I don't owe anyone an explanation,
But it
right?
wasn't always that way. That came
No,
with maturity.
that came with maturity. It came with experiences, but it also
Mhm.
came with being bold and making a choice, right? Like the moment you wake up and you're like, listen, I've been on this roller coaster. I've been doing this and doing that. And yes, there are other benefits that have come as a result of that. However, it's still a roller coaster and it's still going around like a hamster wheel. And there really is no end to this. Like there comes a full stop where you're like, listen, I'm making a choice to make it look different, to make it feel different. Like you wake up thinking it's a choice. Once you know that, and listen, again, like you said, that came with maturity and experiences,
Mhm.
but also it came from a place of just saying enough is enough, right?
Right.
Like you have to wake up and say, you know what, this is it. Like there comes a point where you're like, you know what, enough is enough. And that's it. And you just make changes to move towards that.
Um, I think most of us at one point or another have a
Yeah.
very defining moment
Yes.
with the enough is enough, because sometimes we give enough is enough as lip service.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we say we're going to set a boundary, but we don't keep it. We say enough is enough, but then we take it up back.
Yes.
But then sometimes we have a very defining moment that allows us to literally stop at this crossroad and then, to Marsha's point, make that choice.
Right.
To say, I'm making a choice to choose me.
Yes.
Would you be able to share with us how, at what point you came to that crossroad and said for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
was it your health journey that you went a
Yeah,
screeching halt?
a little bit of it. Well, actually, a big part of it was that.
Mhm.
Now there were several pieces that that led up to that. But the moment back in 2014 when I was diagnosed with breast cancer, that was a big moment. Now I was in my 30s, and remember I said my mom died young, right? To me, that was very young, right? And she had health scares and health issues leading up to that. So we're talking, 20 years of just health issues that led up to her death.
Wow.
So when I was diagnosed in my 30s with breast cancer, it was devastating. I had young kids. They were 9 and 3. They were young. And so at that point, I really did say to myself, enough is enough. Because if I continue on this path, I'm going there. I've seen the examples that went before me with my mother and my aunts and other people in my family and people that I know. There comes a point where you say, you know what? A point where you say, you know what? This is it. And the other thing too is once you also realize that you are 100% responsible
Mm.
for your life, you are 100% regardless of what somebody did to you, what somebody said to you, has happened in the past, you are 100% responsible for your life. Once you realize that, then things start to change.
You have to say that again.
You are 100% responsible, regardless of who did you wrong or right or somewhere in the middle. Regardless of what someone said to you or regardless of what they did or did not do for you, you are 100% responsible for your life.
And until we come to that point
Yes.
of acceptance,
Right.
really and truly, we give our power away.
Yes. 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 It's kind of like it's a defining moment, but it's also a moment of empowerment.
Mhm.
Because there's another part that goes with it too, right? Because we get so hung up on how we look, what people are going to think. Oh, but so and so is going to say this and so and so is going to say that. But once you're empowered to start thinking, I always tell people, you matter, but you don't matter. Meaning, the moment you realize that all eyes are not on you, it's very empowering. The moment you realize that in the grand scheme of things, this beautiful universe that God has given us, you do not matter. And once you realize that all eyes are not on you, then you can then start to live the life that you want to live without caring what anyone else thinks. Right?
Absolutely. And my version to that would be, even if all eyes are on you,
Even if,
it
even
does
if
not
all I,
matter.
it does not matter. It
It
does.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Yes, yes.
And I am particularly passionate about capturing our young queens coming up, that
Mm,
they can learn this lesson early,
yeah,
especially our girls,
yeah.
because I believe, to how you started, is that a lot of times we morph ourselves into occupying these roles and identities,
Mm-hmm.
whether society has placed it and we feel that this is what we need to do, whether it is from family, whether it is from your circle of influence, whether it is from your culture. This is what you need to be when you grow up. This
Yes.
is the kind of job you need to have. This is what society defines as success. Listen, success for somebody else could very well be waking up in an open field under a coconut tree, having that little jelly coconut, and having
Yes.
what they perceive as sweet inner peace, love, and joy. And they don't want the material acquisitions. And
Right.
then success for somebody else is the house, the picket fence, the dog.
Hmm.
But I challenge all of us to ensure that if we have nothing, if we wake up tomorrow and have absolutely nothing materially, and we're standing alone,
Yes.
are we happy with the person that is within us?
That's a good
Because
question.
until we become wholesome,
Yes.
we are busy looking for those eyes, seeking for opinions and validation.
Hmm. And you have to be a wholesome person or a whole person to bring that to the table of your relationships, your job, your friendships. You have to be a wholesome person to come to that. But it also takes gut, right, to also say, okay, I thought success was, because the majority of us are in that position now, right, where we've gone after the job, we've gone after the career, we are acquiring the stuff, and we have the car, we have the white picket fence, we have the 3.5 kids and the dog, like we have all of that. But it takes gut and courage to even halfway through or three-quarters of the way through your life to say, you know what, it's okay. I'm going to contradict myself. It's okay if I contradict myself. This is not it. And I'm going to say that I am large. I contain multitudes. I can change my mind. At some point, I can turn this around. And that takes guts, and it takes being empowered and being okay with doing what you want to do and go live on that beach with that, drinking that jelly coconut and not caring what people think, right? And not having to explain to anyone.
That's a lot of courage.
Yeah.
Facts. A lot
Yes.
of guts.
Yes.
And we stay in a place of either hold or hovering
Hmm.
without the ability to step into the next.
Yes.
And the next does not necessarily mean more things depending upon what season of your life you're in. The
Right.
next does not necessarily mean more things. The next, I interpret that to mean how we fill our tank, how we fill our souls, and doing what brings us the joy.
Yes, the things that set your soul on
On
fire.
fire.
And of course, I mean, we know that looks different for everyone. And the problem with a lot of these things, and we talk about like self-care, for example, right? Because self-care is one of those things that needs to happen in order for us to know ourselves and to live the lives that we want to live. But what happens is people will say to you, well, self-care is getting your nails done. Self-care is going to the spa. While those all sound great and it may work for someone else, you have to ask yourself, what does self-care look like for me? And Marsha-Ann, sometimes that's taking a nap.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sometimes that's taking a nap. Sometimes it's going for a walk. Sometimes it's being alone in a dark room. Sometimes it's getting on a plane and traveling somewhere by yourself, with yourself, for yourself. We have to ask ourselves, what does that look like for me? And not get caught up in what we think we should be doing.
Absolutely. I could not agree with that more. And
Yeah.
it also changes. Self-care will evolve.
Yes, it will
It,
evolve.
it can evolve. It could be
Yes.
different this month than it will be next month.
Yes, yes. The things that ignite you, right? You're like, okay, I'm doing this, and it means nothing to anyone else. It means, I mean, people may look at me and think I'm weird, but that's okay. It ignites me, and so I'm gonna do more of that, and then that's gonna evolve, and I'm gonna stack better things on top of that, and next thing you know, I mean, you're living these great, you're having wonderful days, and then before you know, you're having a wonderful life. If you
Right.
stack enough wonderful days up on top of each other, it's an amazing life.
And can we embrace that wonderful? At no point there is this thing of perfect. There's
Right.
no perfect life, there's no perfect situation,
Mm-hmm.
but I believe how we respond, not
Yes.
react, but how we respond. And a
Yes.
lot of this comes with so much of our learning experiences, right? A lot
Right.
of hurt along the way, disappointment,
Mm-hmm.
um, betrayal, angst. Things happen. And then we get to this stage where it's an epiphany. To
Yeah.
Lorna's point, she says your success should not be determined by how other people see you, but how
Right.
you see yourself.
Yes. 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 Go back to what you just said a few seconds ago, because I was gonna say something, but I lost my train of thought.
Why are you doing that to me? My
I
heart
don't
is.
know. I am so sorry, but I love you.
I don't remember now.
What? Maybe somebody in the comments can remind us what you just said,
Help
because
me,
that was
Cheryl.
brilliant. That was brilliant, and I was gonna piggyback off of that. That was brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, seriously though, I believe that all of us must come to that place where we understand that. I think a bigger part for me, Nicole, is dispelling the notion that all these things which have happened to us,
Yes.
we don't need to carry these suitcases around,
Let's
right?
go. Now I remember, but it's okay if we do, Marsha-Ann, because it's okay if we do, but at least acknowledge and know that you're carrying this suitcase around.
Well, it depends upon what's in the suitcase,
It
because some
depends.
suitcases they don't need to come. I'm serious. There's
You're
some
right.
cases
You're right.
that
Yeah.
should not be coming. It's not
Yeah.
as if I believe our role in
Hmm.
living this bold and intentional life. It is about facing the things that have helped to make us and mold us. I
Yes.
believe it's about embracing the experiences that we have had,
Right.
right? That
Right.
have made us who we are today. But
Right.
we must also know that, like seasons, things change. And
Right.
in our growth, there's some things that we have definitely outgrown. So much like a big potted plant that now the roots have expanded. I don't need to carry that broken pot with me because that has expired its season.
Hmm.
Now it's time for another new pot because we're constantly evolving.
But let's say for some reason you have the pot, like it is what it is. We all carry around hurt,
Mhm.
fear, imperfection. That's what you were talking about earlier.
Right.
It's okay, at least I believe, to be vulnerable in a situation and acknowledging the fact that I have this potted plant
Mhm.
beside me. And yes,
Right.
the roots are coming right out. I have that. It is what it is. However, I'm acknowledging that I do,
Mhm.
and acknowledging the fact that the truth that I do need to take care of this. That I know. So I'm owning up
Right.
to that, right?
Right.
So, but vulnerability plays a big part in it. Going back to your part about imperfection, right? Listen, I say fail forward. Fail
Mhm.
forward. There are a lot of things that could have stopped me in my tracks over these years that I've been on earth. Okay.
Right.
Going into entrepreneurship, it was scary. It was scary. I cried a lot of nights. Okay. And that was my pot sitting next to me with the roots
Right.
growing out and all. But I say, you know what? Okay, pot, I see you there. Thank you for letting me know that I'm onto something, because I'm feeling it deeply and I'm feeling
Right.
it, the emotions are there, and it's fair, but it's also my truth, right? So
Mhm.
as long as we're acknowledging that and being vulnerable to it, I think it's going to help us heal. Heal.
Absolutely, but as long as we're not dwelling there.
No, we're not.
My
We're not planting something else in the same pot.
That's it. That's my point.
Yes.
In
Yes.
other words, absolutely acknowledge it.
Right.
Absolutely identify what you have learned from it.
Yes.
Absolutely identify if what you have learned is also teachable for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
I have embraced the importance of vulnerability, and I never did until last year. Straight
Mm.
talk.
Yes. I remember.
Straight talk.
And it's healing, right?
Oh my goodness, is it healing?
Healing.
It's so healing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, to your point, as long as it is a situation whereby whatever aspect of that journey with that pot, like I'm just not sitting in the pot and doing nothing.
Yes.
Because sometimes these life lessons will arrest you. The
Right.
things that have come to teach us, I don't believe they're regrets.
No. No.
In my former life, I would have said, oh my goodness, here was something that I regretted. In
Mm-hmm.
my new dispensation, here is what I have learned from that
Yes.
experience.
Yeah. And
And what I
here's
will,
what I have to
will
teach.
not go back to, or what I will do in the future, and
Yes.
what can I teach someone else
Yes.
from it, you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
But boldness and intentionality is really a choice.
Right. I agree. I agree. It is a choice, and it is a daily choice too, right? It is a daily choice. It is not like, okay, I made the choice several years ago, or I made the choice several months ago. It is a daily choice. Now, I will also say that I'm not bold and intentional every single day.
Right.
I don't get up saying, okay, I choose today, and then I go about my day and everything is perfect. It's not. It's not. I had a moment this morning where I was not bold and or intentional. I
Right.
was just sitting in my vulnerability. But again, it's just the exercise and the experience of and the habit of knowing how to pull yourself out of that. But yeah,
And I think that's when we give ourselves grace,
yes, yes. That's a
right?
big one that I use.
Yeah, give ourselves grace, because some of us are
Mhm.
also still battling with being high achievers,
Right.
and we need to sometimes peel the layers back and understand that even with choosing to be bold and intentional, there's some days, you know what? I don't want to either be bold, I don't want to be intentional. In fact, I don't even want to make a decision, and I don't want to adult today.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's okay.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I don't need much convincing for that. My true people know me.
See, I need convincing to take a nap. On not anymore, but before last year, I needed convincing to take a nap.
Yeah.
So
So giving ourselves grace to understand we cannot always keep going and
yes,
going and going and doing.
right.
But when you look at where you are in life now,
Mhm.
what's a big part of your why?
Um, this is probably going to be not a popular opinion. And when I hear people say or ask, "What is your why?" and I hear people answer, "Oh, it's my family," which they are. It's my kids, which part of it, is my kids. But I first think of when I think about my why, I think a lot of times I place myself first.
Mhm.
And that may come with some, wow, she puts herself first. But a lot of times I do, because if I'm not well, they're not well.
Correct.
And if I'm not happy or whole, they're not happy or whole.
Yep.
So in putting myself first, I put my kids first, because I want my kids to look at themselves as a person first. I have two boys. Look at themselves as a person first, then a man, then a black man,
Right.
right? Because
Yep.
I want them to see the way I live my life and the way I look at my mother living her life and look at my dad living his life. And I want them to get something from that. And there are several things that I asked them to promise me. I said, listen, if I ever leave this earth, whenever that is, when I ever leave this earth, there are certain things you're going to promise me. You're going to travel the world. You're not going to do anything that's illegal. You're going to do the things that make you happy. You're going to finish college, and you're going to respect women. Those are the 5 things I asked them to promise me. But if I can let them see all of that through me,
Yes.
then hopefully they will end up doing the things in their very own way. Take that
Right.
and mold it into what they want it to look like. But I put myself first. That is my why.
Nicole, I'm very happy you said that. If my mom had the ability to type fast enough, she would go, Amen, my sister. She has preached that all her life.
Yeah.
And I came to that acceptance because you see, I was the one who felt like I had to put everything else ahead of me. There's some of us who can relate to this. At some point in your life, you
Yeah.
occupied every other role. And, I did a post, I think it was about a week ago, when I said, especially as a mom, as a new mom, I remember feeling I had to do everything. And then as a new mom and a working mom, and I felt like I just had to always be 24/7. You identify that this need to overachieve and be the superwoman is so overrated at the cost of your mind, body, and soul.
Yes.
And
Yes.
the day you shift gears to understanding that God has designed you to take care of yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
the airlines get it. Put the
Yes.
oxygen mask on yourself
First.
first.
Yeah.
When you do that, then we understand that that is not selfish.
Mm-hmm.
That is truly demonstrating we're teaching everybody else how to treat us.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we're giving the example that if I take care of this temple, if I take care of this mind, body, and soul, and if I lead the life by example when I nourish self,
Yes.
then everyone around me who are like hosts,
Mm-hmm.
they then are getting the nourished soul. So we're pouring from our saucer, but not an
Yes.
empty cup. How many
Absolutely.
of you on here can relate that you guilty as charged at some point in your life, you're busy pouring from an empty cup
Mm-hmm.
until
Right.
you had your epiphany? The
Right.
why is so important. Yeah, Lorna says it best. She loves your why. We have to
Mm-hmm.
look after ourselves first and then lead by example. But a lot of us learned it late.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's all right. At least we've learned it.
That's
If
okay.
there are those of you who need to learn it, today is the instant level. When we say with immediate effect,
Yes.
this is an immediate effect.
Right
Start
now.
to take care of self.
Right.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, especially with children, right? We have to remember that the hands-on approach that we have with our children, or the or people or wards, whoever it is that you're taking care of. I don't know,
Right.
it could be a dog, it doesn't matter, right?
Yeah.
The hands-on approach that you have with your children, or even with a particular job, is only for a short period of time. The majority of your life will be spent outside of that. You were a whole person before, and you will be a whole person after they've left the house. So I do not want to lose myself in caring for my kids, because my hands-on approach right now is only 18 summers. It's only 18
Yep.
summers, 18 years, right? And so I'll do that, but I would still like to stay intact for when they leave and they only call me on Sundays. What am I doing and feeling about myself Monday to Saturday, right? So I that is why I put my one of the reasons I put myself first.
It is so vital. I mean,
Yeah.
we can segment this in so many ways. We
Right.
have folks who their partners is the only being in their life, and they put their partners way ahead of choosing themselves,
Yes.
right? And then that gets altered. And
Right.
then whether it is parental,
Mm-hmm.
putting them ahead of you. And so many people will tell you today, now that the kids are gone. I mean, I met a woman that I had to do an interview with only about a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
And she said, with mist in her eyes, I really wish I listened
Mm-hmm.
when they said her kids are gone now. She now wants to enter the work world, but she said, I'm lost. I literally lived every waking moment for my children,
Wow.
and I put myself last. And now she's on a journey of discovering herself,
Wow. Yeah.
but feeling highly inadequate. And
And not necessarily having the resources, maybe, right? Because the resources diminish over the
I
years.
mean, a lot. And I'm
Yeah.
telling you, I choked up immediately because I thought to myself, I remember mommy always encouraging, not just should you take care of yourself, but also you need to value yourself enough to love yourself and love your company
Yes.
enough that you can take yourself out on a date, like So I am so programmed now. I'll go to a restaurant and they're saying table for two, and I'm like,
No, table for one, please.
yeah, but like
Listen,
I will kick them off and go, yeah, I enjoy my own company.
I do too.
And it
It's
is so
amazing.
important. I can take a trip by myself.
Yes.
I find it important for all of us, especially as women who are leading an example for the next generation, to get to that place where we are satisfied
Mm-hmm.
with ourselves, even if it is uncomfortable in the beginning.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it should not be that we're so tied to anybody else making us feel complete, because
Mm-hmm.
we've got to be complete and everything else complements us.
Yep.
So
And let's
that's a
be
part
honest.
of being bold and intentional.
Absolutely. Let's be honest. We will be uncomfortable in the beginning,
Right,
but the only way over it is through it.
right,
So you have to stick to that. And I love being by myself. I enjoy taking myself out to the movies, to lunch, to dinner. My friends will tell you, I tell them all the time, if I plan on going to the museum or the movies by myself and I buy my ticket and I'm walking into the theater and I see you and you say, "Hey, Nicole, can I join you?" I will say, "Absolutely not. You sit over there. I'll sit over here." I promise. We're not, because my intention is to go to the movies by myself. I am good with that, right? I, like you, travel by myself. There are times when I will go for either work or just for personal. I love that because again, it's filling me up. Now, that doesn't mean that I wouldn't go to the ends of the earth and back for someone else, for my family, for my kids, for my husband, for anyone that relies on me. That doesn't mean I wouldn't do that. But I
right.
guarantee you I'm stopping halfway through and we're resting, right? Or when we get there, we're going to take a few days, see the sights, and then we're going to come back because, this girl has to refill.
Mhm.
But it's knowing that, knowing what you need to.
I think it's knowing when we need to,
Yes.
one. And I really believe that it's a decision. Nothing happens without a decision and a choice,
Right. Right.
right? And I believe we create the atmosphere with those around us, whether personally or professionally,
Yes.
about how to treat us.
Right. Right.
So I got to a stage, we grew up knowing that mommy had to take her Sunday nap.
Mm.
Don't mess with her. And she tell you, don't wake up anybody when they're sleeping. So we grew up seeing that.
Yes.
Well, I'll tell you what, real talk is the only thing. Cheryl is on here and Dion, they'll tell you, real talk is the only thing that has allowed me to shift the length of my nap.
Mm.
But I trained my children from they were tiny tots. This is my time. And to your point, that's my version of self-care.
Right.
How are we training everyone around us? It should not be that anyone walks into the house and they want something to eat and you're the only provider. No, regardless of the age of your children.
Right.
So, or those who you are around that you care for,
Right.
and whether you're at work, you cannot always be available 24/7.
No, you can't. And that's that is where being intentional comes in, because you can say my nap is between 3 and 5, but you're not intentional about how you set that time, right? Being intentional
Right.
can look like saying, I'm not going to just tell anybody, but it's my brother, my cousin, just come by anytime on Sunday. No, come by anytime except for between the hours of 3 and 5, right? That's being intentional. It's
Right.
also laying out your favorite jammies if you change into a pajama when you go take a nap. It's also making sure that the room is fresh, it's airy, it's nice and cool enough for you to live. Being prepared, being intentional. So let's talk about going to lunch by yourself. Yes, I have a friend. I'm not sure if she's watching. Denise, if you're watching, I'm going to talk about you. She is scared of going to lunch by herself, right? But that comes down to people are looking, which goes back to my point. No one is looking at you, right? So which means that you can now be yourself, right?
Right.
But being intentional about that may be going to the restaurant the day before and scoping it out and saying, I want to sit in that chair over there because it's not as conspicuous as the others, right?
Right.
going to lunch. You ever go to lunch by yourself and they sit you in the middle of the restaurant? Now, I've done that. Now I'm good with it, but at the
Sure.
beginning, I wasn't, right? So being
Right.
intentional about choosing where you want to sit, exactly, just know yourself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And also, that's such a brilliant point, Nicole, because the things that we have become comfortable with,
Hmm.
our job is to help others along the way. I love
Right.
that. And it could mean we would also give the same tip. Maybe a part of it is going back to the same restaurant all the time, then,
Yes. Yes.
as your spot, much
Yes.
like Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
Yes.
That's your
Ask for
spot.
what you
That's
want.
ask for what you want. And that's what we
Yes.
need to do so much more. Someone made a comment here, and I've got to share it because I love it. And you have to tell me who this is. It just says Facebook user. It says, create a schedule that allows your day to begin and end with you. Love that.
Yes. Yes.
Even if you wake up earlier to give yourself an hour of me time, it will change your outlook and perspective. I could not agree with you more.
Yes. I agree.
Who
I
is
agree.
that? I want to know.
Or let's flip that, right? Let's put that in the reverse. Maybe you're not a morning person. So people will say to you, okay, get up an hour early. I can do
Could
that.
be late.
You're probably a night owl. So stay up
Mm.
an hour later, right? Or carve out some time in the middle of the day. People will say, oh, journal sounds fantastic, but I hate to write. So
Right.
maybe you do a voice journal instead. Maybe you don't journal at all. Maybe you have a journal prompt in your head and you go for a walk or you sit by the lake and you speak it out to existence. However
Mhm.
you get your gratitude out, whether it's verbal or written, just do what you need to do.
Right. Yeah. And do what works for
Do
you.
what works for you. Yes.
Because if we're not careful, we're caught up with the
Mm-hmm.
clamor of everybody having a new solution, a new recommendation,
Yes.
know when to channel and not channel social media or any form of media, know when to protect your headspace and
Yeah.
your heart space. Um, how
And then
many of
all that just goes, you're like, "Psh, my mind is like, psh." And then what happens when you're overwhelmed? You
yeah,
do nothing.
yes,
You do nothing when
absolutely,
you're overwhelmed. You're like,
absolutely. Oh, I love that. Stacey says she carves out time on a Sunday for the Real Talk show. And
oh,
and
see?
and that's for all of you who do that, because the truth is that's a choice that I and,
Yes.
and I and I I'm so honored. I don't take it for granted because Sundays are sacred.
Yeah.
Please remember that Real Talk started for me to have, for those of you who don't know, this was about being bold and intentional, but Real Talk started out of absolute fear of hosting a live. Like the thought of going live on Instagram literally made my windpipe close up. And I remember like my chest cavity caving in, and I was on this big postponement. No, I can't do it. No, I don't know how. It feels unauthentic. And then when I finally took the plunge and I did it, I said, okay, I'm just going to do like 2 episodes. And then there were 3 episodes. And then I continued because it was nurturing my soul and it was also helping me to build my confidence. Back to your point, if Denise is uncomfortable going into restaurants, dining, then it means that she has to keep going back,
Right.
right? Because otherwise, if we retract early, we won't do it,
Yes.
right?
Or choose something else
Or we might choose something else.
that you can do by yourself.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up saying, okay, I can do more. And let me tell you something, with knees knocking, every time I was going to start, I would say to Isha Simone, I'm not going to do it. I don't know how. Like, and the first 2 episodes, the camera was turned the wrong way. And here we are now, season 3, like close to, yeah, we did over 50 something episodes in those 2 seasons. Now we're at 7 seasons. And I'm sharing it because you said it best. First and foremost, there are some things that we just need to do to carve out our me time, to carve out podcast time in the week, like determine the days where you want to learn,
Yes.
And I can't thank everyone enough. Some folks on here say it's their weekly therapy. Keisha says that real talk has become a part of her self-care. I mean, I know Yvonne is on, Cheryl, Dion. Like, I can call out the names, but I share that because we all need to choose what we want to enrich ourselves.
Yes.
This is all about positivity. And the same is true. It is so important to identify what is not good for you
Right.
to not be a part of. Like, what do you need to not be watching? What do you need to not be listening to in an effort to ensure that this bold and intentional life is lived? So
Yes.
I can't thank everybody enough for choosing to be a part of this Real Talk community, and for the hour that you spend on a Sunday, which could be spent eating, napping, and doing everything else, but you choose to be here. And I appreciate every guest that comes on, just like how you have given up your time to be here with us, Nicole. So, as the time is elapsing, I believe I would love you to tell us, what are some of the daily routines that help you to live this bold and intentional life? And to each his own, but what are some of the daily routines that you employ, um, knowing that there has to be flexibility,
Right.
but to live this bold and intentional life? Tell us.
I wish I could say to you, oh, I journal every day. Oh, I exercise every day. Oh, I wake up and I give gratitude. I wish I could say those things, but it's in truth and in fact, it's not like that. What I do know, though, is what I do have is a rooted desire in my soul to feel good, a rooted desire to feel like I'm accomplishing something, like I'm living my truth, right? I have this desire to wake up every day and say, how do I want to feel today? And in order to get that done, what do I need to do? And I wake up every morning thinking, eat that frog. Do you know that book, Eat That Frog?
I have it.
You have that book, which basically is saying that if a frog is the worst thing, if eating a frog is the worst thing you have to do that day, do it first and get it out of the way so that you don't spend the entire day thinking about it. So I wake up and I tackle the biggest things first. It doesn't always happen every day, but I know that once I do that, it clears the way for the rest of the day to flow and to go very well. So I just wake up with that desire every day to say, how do I want to feel today? And oftentimes I write it down. And I do have a little box here that I keep on my desk, where instead of journaling, what I do is I'll get a piece of paper, something like this, or another piece of paper, and I'll write down something that happened that day, or how I felt that day that was impactful. And I'll just rip it. I wish I could say it was neat, but it's not. I just rip it and I fold it up like you put your name in a raffle bowl, right? And I just put it in that box. And every few months I'll go through it and I'll just read something from it. And the other day I read something that had to do with, the story about me and my dad and how close we were. And right. So I read something about my dad that made me cry, but also made me feel hopeful. Something that a convo that we had back in 2012 that I just wrote on a piece of paper. And so to me, when I read that, when I write that, it releases everything, but it also brings in a lot of hope and a lot of purpose. So that is what I do.
Wow. I love that. I absolutely love that. This is the joy of sharing right here.
Right.
That helps us to pick up tips, because that I definitely love. It's like your little jar of love notes, or
Yes.
or the jar of just what happened today that really mattered to you.
Right.
And so do you date it?
I do. Actually, I was trying to see if I could reach it. Give me 1 second. I'll show it to you.
Sure.
Pardon me. I'm knocking things over on my desk here. But it's this. It's a little jar. I have it here. And I just pulled out a piece of paper just to kind of show you an example. This is very vulnerable right here, right?
Right.
So this is just a piece of paper here, and this is an old one. So I switch them out. So I brought an old one over so I can go through the older notes this time.
Right.
And this one's dated January 8th, 2014, which is
Oh
my
my goodness.
birthday. And it just talked about my brother and his birthday and how I feel about him. And I just wrap it up and I just put it in the jar and I just leave it there. And I come back and I revisit it.
Wow.
That's it.
Nicole, I quite like that.
It's very therapeutic for me.
That's beautiful. Who else is feeling that? I really do like that. Paula says she loves the jar idea. She can't commit to journaling, but I absolutely love. Yeah, so my concept of journaling is, you know how folks will do it every day and that's a part of their daily routine? No. But when I do journal, I journal in that and and I journal in different places. I
Yes,
don't
that's
have
the
that
thing.
one book,
Yeah,
right? So it could be in my devotional, it could be at this random thing that I actually go through and have this thought and I've written it down. So that's so very, very, very powerful. I like that a lot. And it really would help with the fluidity of not feeling you have to read for a book.
It's such a big relief. It releases me from feeling like I need to write in this book at this time. So I can say, how am I feeling? What am I feeling? Oh, this feels like a really good feeling. Oh, this is an awful feeling. I still write it down because I want to come back. It is my way to show gratitude, but also to come back and read this. And if I get a bad one, I was feeling really bad that day or at some point during that day, I can look back at it and say, wow, girl, you come a long way. And let's talk about how you overcame this obstacle and let's apply it in a different area.
Nice. Very nice. And we don't celebrate our success enough, right?
Right. And
everybody loves this idea. Everybody loves it. I definitely know that this is a nugget that I'll be taking for sure.
And listen, and this goes back, Marsha-Ann, to what we talked about. It's like it doesn't have to look the same for everyone.
Right.
Just do what feels good to you. This feels good to me, so I do that.
Wow. Natasha says, I have a box under my desk and I put cards and notes in there, but I want to start putting my own notes in there too. Thanks for the tip. Yeah, isn't that awesome? You've been able to really share something that a lot of us will do our own version of. But I know why it will work for me because the ease of just ripping a paper and nothing is, nothing is prescriptive and I don't have to read for the blue book.
It doesn't have to be pretty. You just have to just put what you're feeling on paper or a piece of napkin, whatever you have at your disposal.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Thank you for that. So, Nicole, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
Yes.
And just share with us as you so feel. One of which includes, if you were to give me two of your core values that powers up who Nicole Barrett, what powers Nicole with her core values? Just two, not asking for five.
Yeah. Okay.
What are two of your core values?
A core value for me is I was going to say freedom, but you used another word earlier that I can't remember that just sounded better. But for me, it's freedom. And that's freedom to be. It's freedom to make mistakes and recover from it. It's freedom to succeed. It's freedom to evolve. And it's freedom to change my mind. Because again, I am large and I contain multitudes. So I can change my mind, right? So one of them is freedom. And the other one, another core value I would say is truth. Is truth. Because if I wake up every day knowing who I am, and again, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. As my husband will tell you, it's been a journey. And every day I find out or confirm something about myself that I bring to the forefront. And when I keep doing that, I keep doing that on a daily basis. So whenever it comes to me, I'm still building myself And I love the fact that I'm still growing and I'm still building. I'm still finding out little things about me, and truth in how my with my family as well. Truth in not seeing them how I want to see them, not seeing how I want to see them, but seeing them for who they really are, and allowing my soul to connect with their soul. That to me is truth, and you can't have that connection without truth. So
Oh, this
those
is
are
so
my two.
beautiful. That's really beautiful. I'm not surprised you said freedom because there's consistency to that. I've asked you this on a few other, we've had reason to talk on different occasions,
Yes.
and freedom has come as one of those core values. This is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
When you think of purpose, your purpose, what does purpose mean to you?
Two parts. Purpose is what we're doing right now. We talked about this before I came on about, and we prayed before I came on, and
Mhm,
we talked about talking to one person,
mhm,
right? So purpose is being able to change or give an idea to or help one person, whether it is personally or professionally, help one person and maybe even many to be able to do one thing different today or evolve one thing in their lives that's going to make them a better person, a better employee, a better whatever it is, better friend,
yeah,
whatever. That's one purpose. The other side of it, another purpose to me is I can't do that. I can't help someone else. I can't shed light for someone else if I'm not shedding light for myself. So
mhm.
another purpose goes back to my original why, which is being able to evolve myself in order to reach everyone else where they are. That's
Beautiful.
my purpose.
Beautiful. What does prosperity mean to you?
Oh my goodness, prosperity. You know what it is? Prosperity means to me, because we often think money, right?
Mm-mm.
Prosperity means to me waking up in the morning and seeing possibilities and making my coffee and feeling good about it and sipping it and seeing possibilities for the day. It's hope. It's hope, right? But it's
Yes.
also going to bed at night, saying to myself, I've done everything that I can do today, everything in my power. I have done what I came to do today, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow and start again. That's prosperity to me. It's going to bed and feeling like I've lived, like I've given it my all.
Mhm.
That's rich. That's rich.
That's real rich.
Yeah, that's
Real
rich,
rich. Real
rich.
rich. Rich, rich. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That is so beautiful. And so if you wrap this up now
Hmm.
by saying, at the end of the day, if someone were to just come on right now and all they would hear is the last 60 seconds of this conversation that we've had with our incredible audience of amazing
Yeah.
supporters, and you want to just wrap up and put in a bundle the importance of choosing to live a bold and intentional life,
Yes.
tell me what you're going to say.
I'd say you are a whole person with a lot to live, a lot to give. So just do the things that set your soul on fire. Do the things that sets your soul on fire. That's it.
That's it.
That's it. That's
That's it. Wow. Just like that.
it.
Just like that. Nicole, this has been such a great conversation.
Oh, it was fantastic. Thank you for having me.
The chat has been so active. What questions do any of you have for Nicole? Drop it in the chat so that we can actually pick her brain. If you have a question that you know you want to ask her, if there's something that you know you want to work on in your life and believe that she's able to probably just share her input from her experience, I would absolutely love you to ask that question at this point for Nicole. But Nicole, thank you, Lorna, for saying that. You know, I value you so much. And here is my reality. When we prayed earlier, we prayed as I always do with every guest. Marsha, welcome back. You know that. Marsha was a guest 2 weeks ago on our program. Marsha is a two-time award-winning author, and
And I know her. That's my friend.
yes, and she has had her book like in number one positions on Amazon. And so we had her on about 2 weeks, 2 or 3 weeks ago. And Marsha will attest to this. So I believe always in praying before we
Mhm.
actually do anything, because I don't take what we do lightly. I believe if those who choose to come and those who will catch the replay, they must understand that we have surrendered ourselves. And
Yeah.
I've asked God to use us even to impact on one. And so I would say to you, Nicole, that our prayer, I feel confident that God has answered our prayers. I feel confident that so many of us have walked away. Your illumination is very clear. Like you are lighting up your world, you are choosing to be bold and intentional. And you're also reminding us that a bold and intentional life will look different for each and every one of us,
Yes.
right? So Sandra wants to know what brought on your aha moment that sent you in search of more knowledge,
Wow.
or probably more self-awareness, right?
Yeah, you know what it is? I think it comes from a place of knowing that I deserve it. Like we have to know that we deserve everything that life has to give. We deserve it, and it needs to happen. That's the thing. It's like we have to first say, it goes back to my original point, like, why not me? Why
Mhm.
not me? We only have this one life, right? And I don't know about you, but I don't want any regrets. I may have a few, but not the ones that I have control over at
Right.
this very moment in my life, right?
Right.
So the aha moment for me was knowing that I deserve it. And that's it.
Wow.
There's one question I want to go back to, if you don't mind. I saw it earlier, and I
Sure.
think it was from Cheryl, and this is important, right? She said, sometimes I don't feel like I have the magic formula for the day. And Cheryl, none of us do. None of us do. We may have some habits that eventually leads to a great formula. We may have some ideas, but I don't believe there's one real formula, and it's definitely not magic right away. At least I think it's once you hone in on it and it starts to work for you. Yes, it's magic, but a lot of us are just making it up as we go along.
Yes.
We are fixing the plane while it's flying. We are building the plane while it's flying. But it comes down to just starting, just realizing that here's what I want to happen, here's what I need to change, and just doing that one small thing of opening the door and walking into the restaurant and say, table for one, please. And then you'll deal with your feelings when you get in there. That's it.
I love that.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that, because sometimes we hinder ourselves
Yeah.
so much because we want to get all parts of the equation right. I am guilty of
Yes.
that myself.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe I have come to learn and grow in this last year, especially. And Natasha, you're still on here along with your sister, I hope, which is beautiful. And I said that in this period where we went under arrest in COVID and shut down, I began to get to know myself that
Mm.
much more,
Yes.
right? And I believe that we must just embrace that we're constantly evolving,
Yes.
constantly changing, and be open to learning and open to making mistakes. But what I have also learned in the last year is that we really are stronger together. We need one another.
Yes.
We need the spirit of community.
Yes.
And community is not a wagon of people, it's not a stadium. But, you might have your chosen one or your chosen two or your chosen three, and we need to ensure we are pushing each other to that next level. So for the persons who say, I know I want to do X, who is coming alongside them to say, have you started on X yet? What are
Yeah.
you doing towards X, right? Sheree, if you're on here, you've kind of poked me in my side. What are you doing towards X? I know I have to be a part of that. So someone
Right.
is saying, were you always a religious person, or was knowing God, you think, the gateway to your self-love?
I'm gonna this question is I love it. Uh I've always gone to church. Let's just start that. I haven't always been a religious person, but I've
Right.
always been a person that went to church.
Right.
We grew up in the church. I grew up in the church. You grew up in the church. I became more aware of a God, of a being, of a person who is this amazing, amazing grace over me later in life, meaning not you, because we think because we go to church means that we're religious, right? But until you actually start to feel and be and live with God in your own way, whatever that means to you. Like I have a personal relationship with God, with my Jamaican Jesus, right? And it's my relationship alone, because it's a different type of Jesus, right? It's my relationship alone and mine. And so for me, I don't know if I call myself religious, but I have a great relationship with my Lord.
I think the most important aspect is relationship.
Yes.
That's something that I learned from my mom, because a lot of times folks go out of rituals, out of
Yes.
tradition, out of tenure,
Mm-hmm.
but don't have the relationship and that connection. And I believe the conviction and confidence that you come across with is that you see yourself as God sees you,
Yes.
which is the biggest part of our
Yes.
epiphanies in life.
And knowing that God has given me a mind and He's given me self-awareness as a weapon. And what am I doing with this one amazing, messy life? I want to stand before Him and say, you know what, God, I did something. I did something with it. I
Amen.
prospered. Right?
Amen. Amen.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Man, we went on longer than usual. Blame it on Nicole.
Please, 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 please don't blame it on me.
Nicole, this was refreshing for our souls.
Uh,
Everyone wrote in, thanking you so much for pouring out your truth
truth.
and for doing it with your freedom, the freedom to speak, the freedom to share. And it's really beautiful that you've taken the time out to share so many of these nuggets with us. But what I do know, I want you to promise me, every one of you, go to my Instagram page after this and see how I wrote about freedom, maybe about at 4:30, about freedom. And so it's really, really, really so key to be able to say, I believe we're all in a place that we need to embrace as we are closing on the end of 2021. That
Yeah.
we should not be lamenting on what we did not do, have not accomplished. Don't compare what somebody else did over you, but take where you are today, the 21st of November. And maybe your one thing is to just get up each day and identify that you are one of a kind, you're awesome, you're so unique, and that there's a purpose and plan for your life. Maybe it is to start ripping off that paper and dropping it in a jar. Maybe it is to go into that restaurant and say, table for one,
Yes.
right? So it's really so important that we identify just one thing that you know you want to work on for your development. I know what I need to work on, and I certainly know I won't tear that piece of paper too. But that's a very strong point here. A lot of people don't get where they are because of their partner's influence, but it comes right back to what we said, that we're busy looking to be fulfilled elsewhere
Yes.
until it is so important to become whole with self. A lot of us have had that experience.
100% responsible
Yeah,
for
that's
yourself.
where we started. We're
Yeah.
110%
Yeah.
responsible for ourselves. And if we slip a little bit, we fall to the 100,
Right.
right?
Right.
But we are truly responsible for ourselves. And one might be able to combat and say, oh, well, that's easier said than done. We're under the same roof, or I have this challenge within my work environment. echo, I'm 100% responsible for myself.
And let's be honest, it is easier said than done. I mean,
Sure.
it's hard to do.
Right.
It is hard to, but we don't shy away from hard things.
Right.
We don't. We say, okay, hard thing, thank you for showing up. Sit right there, so I'll be in a moment.
Hold your corner.
Hold your corner.
Yeah.
We don't shy away from hard things. We take it piece by piece, little by little, and we ask for. And that's the other thing about. I know we're wrapping up, but that's the other thing, right? About women and moms, and we find it hard sometimes to ask for help.
Yep.
And so, if in order going back to your community piece, if you need help to move forward, ask for it. If you need a village or a community to help you do what you need to do, then ask for it. And there's a lot in my life that I'm still working on.
Oh Lord, yes.
Could I be exercising more? Absolutely. I ran a marathon several years ago. And do I run as much as I used to? No. Do I want to get back to it? Absolutely. Do I sometimes beat myself up? Absolutely, I do. I am not 100% there, but the beauty is, it goes back to hope. I get up every single day and I'm intentional about starting again. That's it.
Yeah. If this helps somebody, because I'm echoing that, I have started with 3 things that I say daily. I choose my mindset, I choose my mission, and I choose my mood. That's it. It's all my choice, and I'm intentional about it. And even when it gets derailed, because you can start like that, at 8 o'clock, and then by 10 o'clock, you need to remind yourself, I choose my mindset, my mission, and my mood.
Yes.
Because things will happen where we get derailed, but we've got to get back to our center, right? And I don't know if it's because I am getting older, the reality of these choices have become so important to me, and I'm not giving my power away anymore.
Yes.
I'm not doing it. I am literally, no nonsense. You are not going to get my feathers ruffled long enough for me to look like a rooster. You might ruffle them a little bit, but the moment I find out that I am releasing that power, I pull the reins back in, deal with it, and put it back in order.
Yes.
And it's important for us to take control and choosing joy. Because happiness can come and go with our circumstances.
Right.
But joy, I believe, is internal. And so you'll be in the midst of a storm, and peace and joy is a part of your passenger on board your ship.
And to that point too, it's, people may ruffle your feathers, but once you start to also understand that a lot of the ruffling has everything to do with them and the way they feel, and has nothing to do with you. Right. I often say that I go to therapy to deal with people who should be in therapy.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. To get the tools and resources to deal with people who should be in therapy. Absolutely. And a lot of the ruffling has nothing to do with you and everything to do with the way they feel about themselves or their own circumstances. So brush it off and keep it moving.
Keep moving. Keep moving. Wow, Nicole. For real, we're going to end now.
Yeah, okay, we're done
now. Longest episode yet. Well, I want to say to everyone, thank you so much. Nicole, thank you for joining. Tell your family, thank you for sharing you with us. To our beautiful Real Talk community, I call you family. And I want to say thank you for coming. Yes. For those of you who are new here and came because Nicole is the guest on, thank you for joining for today. I invite everyone to please subscribe to this Real Talk with Marsha-Ann. And most importantly, in life, when we gain something that has helped us, forward the episode to someone else, because you'd be amazed to know the impact is not about just being here in this moment. The impact that I have seen for changing lives for that audience of one is for that woman who is listening at 2 o'clock in the morning and she has heard today, you're 100% responsible for yourself. And that's what she needed to hear. So don't just keep it to yourself, forward it to someone else, and know that I value and appreciate you. And I say to all of you, remember, Real Talk is a space where we engage, encourage, and empower one another. As I ask God to use me as a conduit, along with all our guests, to ensure that we live a life of purpose, passion, and prosperity. So I wish for you a beautiful week. For those of you who are in the US celebrating Thanksgiving, It's more than the food. You know what you're giving thanks for. And we want to wish you having a great Thanksgiving and a celebration with family and friends and those who matter. It's been a really rough pocket, and folks are now just coming out of that. So enjoy every moment of it. And yes, thanks for mentioning therapy, is what this person says, because we don't talk about therapy enough. And it's a vital part of one's
Yes.
wholesomeness,
Yes.
regardless of what era of life you need it for. It's that neutral person that you can talk to help you to navigate. So on that note, rich blessings to all of you. Love, 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 and meet us again 6 o'clock next Sunday for the another episode of Real Talk, where we will just join together and really hold each other's hands as we navigate through this journey of life. We're 100% responsible for ourselves. Nicole, thank you, and God
Okay.
bless.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Nicole, don't hang up. I'm
I
going to
won't.
end the broadcast. Bye, everyone. And rich blessings to ya.